Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and a warm welcome from the Goa Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Unlock the power of Goa's business community. As a business owner or an entrepreneur in Goa, you are a part of a vibrant and growing economy. For 117 years, the Goa Chamber of Commerce and Industry, GCCI, has been the premier business organization in the state, driving growth, innovation and progress. Transform your business with the GCCI membership. We influence policy decisions. We act as a bridge between the industry and the government. Unlock networking opportunities. Connect with Goa's top business leaders, entrepreneurs and decision makers. Access to expert support. Elevate your skills and amplify your visibility showcased through GCCI platforms including our website, social media and events. Real impact, real results. At GCCI, we just don't advocate for a change, we drive it. Our detailed analysis and concise suggestions have impacted and resolved major business and commerce issues in Goa. Be a part of a community that's shaping Goa's economic future. Contact us at our help desk outside to learn more about the membership benefits and categories. Join and be a part of GCCI family today. I now request our President, Sri Srinivas Dempo, to kindly escort our dignitaries, Mr. Amitabh Kant, to the dais. A loud applause, please. Sangeeta Nayak to welcome Mr. Amitabh Kant with a bouquet of flowers. Seema Shirvekar to welcome our President, Mr. Srinivas Dempo with a bouquet of flowers. Time to begin. I now invite Sri Lalit Saraswat ji to share the insights of GCCI's flagship event, Leaders at GCCI series. Mr. Saraswat, please.
Friends, dignitaries on the dais, off the dais, thank you so much for coming in today. As you've been here, this is our 5th edition of the Leaders at GCCI, and we've only grown from strength to strength. And it's a big thank you to all of you for being here. We've started off kick-started with Mohandas Pai ji, who came in and gave us staggering numbers. We then had Shazia Ilmi ji, who talked about her conviction and boldness. We had MJ Akbar ji, who enthralled us with his knowledge of history and geopolitics. We then had Mr. Vikram Chandra, who talked about a unique cusp of innovation and media, and talked about how Goa can become the next Silicon Valley as Goa 2.0. And the icing on the cake on that event was his relative, the Dean of John Hopkins Carey Business School, who gave his ringside view of what he saw happening in the Silicon Valley in the heydays. So we've been very blessed and privileged to have this around over here. And a big thank you to all of you for being an integral part of these events. The key idea over here is to bring in leaders who inspire thought, the leaders who propel us to action. And I know this is a very challenging time to be in Goa. You've been all flooded with Bryan Adams and serendipity. But I think thank you so much for showing your dedication towards Goa. GCCI has also been doing all this. Everything that GCCI does, it's doing for the growth of Goa, is doing for the progress of Goa, and is doing for the inclusive and sustainable progress of Goa. So thank you so much. Let's get kick-started. I request our President, Mr. Srinivas Dempo, to take over, please. Thank you.
Let me start by welcoming you all on behalf of the Goa Chamber of Commerce and Industry. In particular, the visionary Sri Amitabh Kant, who was kind enough to accept our invitation. I've been following up with his office for a good 3 months or so. And due to pressures of his travel, I think once he had to fly to Brazil, as is India's G20 Sherpa, once he had to travel to another country. But I'm very, very grateful to him, and I welcome him, along with his family members, his respected wife and his daughter who are here today. The Honorable Chief Minister is going to shortly arrive. However, he had requested us that we should start the program on time. I also have my friends in the audience, my friends from industry, from various businesses. I welcome all of them. I welcome the membership of GCCI. I welcome all my managing committee members. I have with me my friend Mr. Dharmen Sharma, who has just taken over as RERA Chairman, Goa. I also welcome him. And past presidents of GCCI and members of the media. It's a privilege to address this distinguished gathering at the 5th, as Lalit said, at the 5th Leaders at GCCI event. This platform has grown in strength and influence thanks to your unwavering support. Goa has long been synonymous with tourism, culture, and natural beauty. But as business leaders, we know that its potential stretches far beyond these shores. The state has the opportunity to become, according to our membership, a leading hub for startups, clean industries, and technology, a model for sustainable and inclusive economic growth, a thriving export gateway, leveraging its strategic location. As all of you all know, how the iron ore industry became competitive just after the World War II. And most importantly, a state where businesses thrive alongside empowered citizens. At GCCI, we believe that bold action and tangible deliverables are needed to make Goa the economic powerhouse it deserves to be. To achieve this, I will outline key interventions that align with our business community's aspirations while addressing Goa's unique challenges. First, sustainability is both a responsibility and, according to us, a massive business opportunity, which I am sure Mr. Kant will cover in his keynote address. Goa must lead in creating green infrastructure and industries that thrive alongside environment. Goa can attract private investment into waste-to-energy projects, recycling hubs, and composting facilities. These ventures address waste management challenges and create profitable and sustainable business models. Any system is good as its users. This has to be accompanied by investment of resources to bring about a shift in the mindsets of people, where sometimes we face challenges in Goa. Businesses must lead the way by adopting eco-friendly practices. We have the opportunity to position Goa, our state, as a leader in sustainable business. What we could do is partner with private enterprise to set up solar farms and hydel and wind energy projects that can power industrial parks and residential areas. Would it be too optimistic to aim to generate 50% of its energy from renewables by the year 2035? Efficient public transport is essential for thriving economy. It not only connects people to jobs, but also creates investment opportunities in mobility and infrastructure. Goa must establish multimodal mobility hubs where electric buses, I think some initiative has been taken by the government of Goa, shared EVs, and a water taxi seamlessly connect our cities, educational hubs, industrial zones, services, and transport hubs with all-weather interchange stations. This has to be done, I believe, with urgency and needs a massive increase in our public transport fleet. Businesses would greatly benefit from last-mile logistics solutions that reduce costs and delivery times. We could invite private players to develop shared mobility solutions like app-based cab systems and ride-sharing for industrial zones and cities. There is a large local audience waiting to use these solutions, beside a large number of tourists that we see every year. For Goa's businesses to scale, we must again retain talent and provide the workforce with quality living and learning opportunities. Goa must incentivize private developers to build mixed income housing projects near industrial parks and business districts. Some initiative now has been talked about in the Board of Industrial Development Corporation of Goa, but we should lay more emphasis on this. This ensures proximity to workplaces, reducing commute times and costs for employees. Establish advanced skilling centers focused on industries like logistics, warehousing, renewable energy, and IT. Private enterprise can partner to co-develop training curriculums and offer on-the-job apprenticeships. Economic growth must not only be inclusive, but also be forward-looking. Here are key areas which we feel at the Chamber can unlock new opportunities for Goa. Establish export-oriented locations focused on sectors which are already prevalent in Goa, like the pharmaceuticals, and we could look at new sectors like electronics and value-added agriculture. Streamlined trade processes and logistics hubs can make Goa a global export gateway. Develop startup incubation centers dedicated to clean energy, AI and tech-driven tourism solutions. A venture capital fund backed by private and public investors can accelerate growth in these areas. Goa must aim to become the knowledge capital of India by attracting global universities and research institutions. Some initiative has been taken by the government of Goa by declaring the Private University Act, and I hope that we could get some encouraging responses and followed by investments in this sector. Businesses can benefit from collaborative R&D and access to a skilled talent pool. Focus on modernizing traditional sectors like cashew, fishing, and fenny production with technology and branding support. Brand Goa can give local products a global platform. Businesses thrives where governance is efficient and transparent. Goa's policies must reflect an unwavering commitment to supporting enterprises with ease of doing business. Again, where our honorable keynote speaker has done some wonderful job in trying to promote EODB. A one-stop platform for business approvals must guarantee clearances, if not days, within months. This will establish Goa as a premier investment destination and for private investment. Automating regulatory processes will not only reduce red tape and bureaucracy, but also build trust and efficiency, encouraging enterprises to expand operations. As business leaders, we cannot wait for transformation to come to us. At the Chamber, we are committed to partnering with government to attract investments, streamline processes, and implement these interventions. Providing mentorship, market access, and financial support to startups and MSMEs through the various government schemes that have been announced by our central government as well as the state government, and leading the adoption of eco-friendly practices across sectors, setting an example for others to follow. Together, we can not only contribute to Goa's growth, but also ensure that this growth is equitable, inclusive, and sustainable. Ladies and gentlemen, the time is to act now. Goa is at a turning point, and the choices we make today will define its future. We must be bold in our vision, ambitious in our actions, and relentless in our execution. I think I've said enough about Goa. It's now time to listen to our keynote speaker, Sri Amitabh Kant. I have had the privilege of listening to him on various occasions when I headed IMA. He's been a great supporter and friend of IMA, and I'm glad that he's there today in Goa to talk to us. I have seen even the who's who of India's Inc., who have always stood in rapt attention and taken notes on his speeches. His achievements inspire us all, and he has shown that even the most ambitious goals can be achieved with the right strategy and leadership. Sri Kant has done everything that I've mentioned and more at scale. A few of his achievements: he has implemented road widening, added cycle tracks, purchased almost 5,500 e-buses, modernized fisheries, developed airports, industrial growth centers, attracted technology and innovation enterprises, added value in the agri-industry, transformed Kerala tourism, as we all know the famous story, and India tourism with his God's own country, Incredible India, and Atithi Devo Bhava campaigns, focused on sustainable and responsible tourism. Executed public-private infrastructure works, worked on India's largest convention and exhibition center, led Make in India, EODB, Startup India, and the PLI manufacturing and scheme, developed infrastructure for the industrial corridor driven initiatives in mobile manufacturing and green mobility, and managed global growth, technological and geopolitical issues for India. Ladies and gentlemen, I once again welcome all of you and also Mr. Amitabh Kant, who has been gracious enough to accept our invitation at the chamber, and look forward to his keynote address, which would be really enlightening for all of us to look at the issues that I have mentioned just a while back. Thank you, Mr. Kant, and a warm welcome again.
Thank you, Mr. Srinivas Tempo, and thank you for those kind words. I'm truly delighted to be in Goa in the midst of this very distinguished gathering. I'll give a little perspective of India and what it means to be a Viksit Bharat and what it will entail to be a developed nation by 2047. And then I will also touch upon Goa and how Goa can be a very major player in India's growth story. So ladies and gentlemen, if you look at India's story in the last few years, India has overtaken UK to become the 5th largest economy in the world. It is the largest growing, fastest growing large economy in the world. And last year we grew at about 8.2%. And by 27 end, most analysts say that India will overtake Japan and Germany to become the 3rd largest economy in the world. Many of you would recall that just a decade back, India was in the fragile 5. And from the fragile 5, we moved to the top 5. Fragile 5 because we were suffering from a twin balance sheet problem. The bank balance sheets were in huge non-performing assets, and the banks had massive debts. And within a decade, we've brought stability in our economy. And how did we do this? First and foremost, India has carried out vast structural reforms. We've replaced 28 taxes and 18 cesses to introduce the goods and services tax, which is one tax across the country. We've brought in the insolvency and bankruptcy code to bring in credit discipline and ensure that companies which are not able to survive in the marketplace can actually die out through a process of insolvency by going to NCLT. We've brought in the Real Estate Regulation Act, which has brought in discipline amongst builders. The regulators, such as Mr. Dharmen Sharma, do huge amount of due diligence before a builder can sell his flats. We have brought our corporate tax on par with the best tax regimes in the world, and the government actually gave away 1,45,000 crores so that we could have amongst the best tax regimes in the world. And we've scrapped a lot of rules, regulation, procedures, paperwork in the ease of doing business. We're the only country which has scrapped 1,700 laws. And we started making states compete with each other. So the first year we did this, Gujarat came number 1. The next year, Andhra beat Gujarat. The third year, Telangana beat Andhra and Gujarat. But the good thing was that the mineral-rich states of Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh, which were 24th and 25th, could jump up and come 4th and 5th. So if the eastern part of India really grows rapidly, with this competition, then India will grow for a long period of time. That's the structural reforms. The second thing that's happened is that we've hugely digitized our economy. Everyone has a digital identity, but between 2015 and 2017, we opened 550 million bank accounts, and we then seeded them with Aadhaar and mobile number, and this enabled everyone to do fast payments. So most Indians today use their mobile as a virtual bank, and they do all transactions from the mobile. This enabled India to do about last year close to 130 billion fast payments. We did 50% of the real-time fast payments in the world. China was next with 22%. So India was way ahead. But as a consequence of that, what happened was that many startups, Mobikwik, Pine Lab, etc., they started giving credit on the payment history. And there was another set of startups called Zerodha, Grow, Upstock, who took stock market to tier 2, tier 3 cities and rural areas, and therefore wealth creation started happening in these areas. And then there was another set of startups like Go Digit and Acco, which started selling insurance on the go, on the mobile. So what India has done is that from identity to bank account to credit to wealth creation to insurance, all this we do within 30 to 60 seconds, within less than a minute, on the mobile. And that is why a company like Reliance Jio could acquire over 510 million customers in less than 10 months because no paperwork was involved. It was just your thumb impression. It had no paperwork. When I was a young officer in Kerala, my job was to transform lives of fishermen. I could give them new technology, outboard motors. I could give them new craft, fiberglass crafts. I could give them nets. But because they were prone to drinking, it was necessary to open the bank account so that 50% of the money could go into the bank account. Opening the bank account, know your customer, was a nightmare. Chasing physical bank managers used to take 6 to 7 months. All that story, from 7 months, we've come down to less than a minute. That's the story of India. So the Bank of International Settlements has said in a study that India has achieved in 7 years what it would have taken 50 years to achieve. And that is technological pole vaulting of India. What would have taken 50 years, India achieved in 7 years. And this model is very different from the model which America, big tech, has pursued. Most of the technological evolution in US, etc., has taken place through Google, through Apple, through Amazon, through Meta, which is Facebook. But there, whatever transaction you do, your data is owned by the service provider. In India's case, we built up an open source, open API, globally interoperable model, which has enabled innovation. So on top of the digital identity, the private sector, PhonePe competes with Google Pay, Paytm competes with Amazon Pay. So they have innovated. And therefore, our model is very different from what they did, what China did, what Tencent and Alibaba did in China. Our model is very different. And during G20, it was accepted that this is the model to go forward with. So the digital transformation of India has enabled India to do 2.2 billion COVID vaccination. It has enabled India to put 700 schemes where the government puts money directly into the bank account of citizens. It has enabled India during the COVID period to put money straight into the bank accounts of 800 million people. This does not happen anywhere. The third thing that's happened is we've built a huge amount of infrastructure in the last 7 to 8 years. We've built 40 million houses for our citizens. That's like making a house for every single citizen of Australia. It's like creating a complete Australia within India. That's more than the population of Australia. We've provided electricity connection to 30 million Indians. We have provided toilets and made behavioral changes in about 130 million Indians, which is more than the population of Germany. And we have provided piped water connection to 253 million citizens of India, which is more than the population of Brazil. And we've built 88,000 kilometers of roads. That is 4 times the roads that existed in India through new roads, expressways and highways. And the government CapEx spend, capital expenditure as a percentage of GDP went up from about less than 1% to over 4.5%. So the capital expenditure and the infrastructure built is very, very high. And the fourth thing that India has done is that it is trying to green its economy. Though we are not responsible for all the greenhouse gas emission, much of the greenhouse gas emission has been done by the developed world, which has occupied 82% of the carbon space. India has pushed for 200 gigawatt of renewable energy. It has transformed the lives of Indian women by providing LPG connection to over 110 million women who used to cook on firewood. And then we procured close to 487 million LED bulbs, which brought down the price of LED bulbs to just 30% of what they were. And then we went and procured about 6,000 buses, electric buses, which showed that if you use the size and scale of India, you can reduce the price very sharply. The price of electric buses came 10% lower than the fossil fuel buses. The next tender we are doing is of 10,000 buses, and the Prime Minister said the third tender will be of 30,000 buses, and the fourth tender will be of 100,000 buses. So if you do that size and scale of procurement, then you make India the center for electric buses for Make in India. All of them will be made in India. So what India has demonstrated that net zero can be net positive, and that if you, many economists, many analysts, Bill Gates also says that when you move from fossil fuel to clean fuel, you have to pay a green premium in the West. But India has demonstrated that it's possible to do it not at a green premium, but at a green discount, as we've done in LED bulbs and as we've done in buses. So this has been the story of India. But now we are pushing for many cutting-edge technologies. The government is pushing for artificial intelligence through a new mission on artificial intelligence, which will push GPUs and computing power in many universities and colleges. It is pushing for a new, it has pushed for a new mission on quantum computing. It has created a 76,000 crore mission on semiconductors, because all wars in future, mobility, airlines, transportation, everything will be driven by chips. And we've pushed for a new mission on green hydrogen, because our ambition is that today we import about 180 million, close to about 180 billion worth of fossil fuel. And our ambition is that we should, instead of being an importer, we should export clean energy, green hydrogen. This, to our mind, is that India is climatically blessed. We should be able to use renewable energy to crack water and export green hydrogen and become the cheapest producer of green hydrogen and green ammonia in its liquid form to the rest of the world. So I've given you a perspective of India and where we want to be by 2047. As the Prime Minister has said, that we want to be a developed economy. Now, developed economy means that we are a $4 trillion economy. We have to take it to 30 trillion in the next 25 years. $30 trillion means that your GDP has to grow by 9 times. Your per capita income has to grow by 8 times. And your manufacturing has to grow by 16 times. That is the challenge. And this would mean that every state of India has to deliver. Every state of India will have to grow and expand. Now, it's important that Goa plays a very significant and a very critical role in this growth story of India becoming a Viksit Bharat. It's not possible for India to grow without Goa growing. And Goa can grow if we realize the significance and importance of Goa as a destination. Now, why it's important for Goa to grow is that Goa is the second richest state in India in per capita terms. second richest state in India in per capita terms, after Sikkim, with 3x per capita income of national average. 3x. You have a 3x over the national average. The per capita income in Goa is 3.5 lakh, whereas the rest of India, the average incomes are about 1.1 lakh. And this happens because you're trying to compare Goa with some of the most populous states of India. 55% of India lives in UP, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan. If you compare Goa with those states, obviously the Goa's average income will be much higher, and it is higher. It is the second richest state in India. However, my view is that Goa will be left behind if urgent action is not taken. And urgent action is necessary because Goa has the highest unemployment rate in India. It has 8.5% against a national average. Your unemployment rate is 8.5% against a national average of 3.2%. Your youth unemployment, that is youth between the age of 15 to 29, stands at 19.1%, which is the third highest in the country and twice that of the national average. So while you may be the third richest economy, and let me tell you, Punjab at one stage was the #1 economy in India. Punjab today is hovering at 19th. It's become from #1 to 19th simply because of lack of political and administrative will. And therefore, if Goa is to emerge as the #1 state of India to drive India becoming a developed economy, it has to do several things, and I'll dwell on some of them. First and foremost, that you have a very high unemployment rate. Your youth unemployment rate is high, very high. Your female labor force participation is very low. It's 29.3%, the third lowest in India. And I was shocked to analyze this, that it's the third lowest in India against a national average of 41.7%. Now you have a very young, very dynamic minister, a chief minister of Goa, very young, very dynamic chief minister. There's no rationale at all why you should have low female labor participation ratio. And therefore, what it demonstrates is that there is a lack of jobs in the state. And Goa will quickly lose its status as one of the most prosperous states in India, much like what Punjab had done. And the same what has happened to Punjab should not happen to Goa. That is the challenge. And therefore, first and foremost to my mind, and I'll dwell on a couple of issues. First and foremost to my mind, Goa must be promoted as an investment destination. That is critical because investment drives growth. And for investment to happen, we must know what is happening in Goa. The foreign direct investment, Goa accounts for only 0.07% of the cumulative FDI, foreign direct investment, which has come to India since 2019, only 0.07%. There's no rationale at all why Goa should attract such little FDI into the country. If FDI is coming into the country, why should it not come to Goa? And Goa accounts for only 0.5% of the total exports in the financial year 23, and the share of Goa in total export is just 0.5%. And in the ease of doing business, it ranked 24th in 19, it jumped up to 16, but I think you need to scrap a lot of rules, regulation, procedures, paperwork. You need to scrap huge amount of laws that have been built in Goa year after year, year after year. You've not built a free enterprise economy, you've built a socialistic state. You need to dismantle that state. And therefore, it's necessary that you dismantle a lot. And I'll touch on a few of these issues. Because my belief is that growth happens when you work with free enterprise, when private sector drives production and productivity. It's not the state which does it. State creates the environment. Jobs are not created by state. Jobs are created by the private sector. The state creates the conducive atmosphere for the private sector to grow and expand. And that must happen in the state. So I'll give my perspective. First and foremost, that Goa's tourism has to remain a big contributor, but it must shift to being a high-value tourism destination. I have been a long-term believer that Goa sells itself very cheap. I've been a part of the Kerala, God's own country destination story. We took it from about a $50 a destination to $500 a night destination, simply because we differentiated Kerala from the rest of the world. We went back to the roots of Kerala. We brought back the backwaters. We brought back Ayurveda. We brought back the Kerala traditional martial art Kalripet. We brought back the traditional Kerala cuisine, appam and stew. We brought back the traditional Kerala art forms, Mohiniyattam and Kathakali. And all this, when you combine with Ayurveda, backwaters, houseboats, differentiated Kerala, and it became one of the exotic paradises of the world. To my mind, Goa is already a top-class destination. Now, whatever you do, make it a high-value destination. You sell it too cheap, to my mind. It's better to get 5,000 high-value tourists and don't put pressure on your land. Get 5,000 tourists who are willing to pay $1,000, and there'll be definitely 5,000 tourists who will pay you $1,000 from abroad, rather than get $50,000 who pay you $50. There's no point in getting more and more people putting pressure on your land, because the world of tourism has moved away to experiential tourism. And experiential tourism is people want to come and experience Goa as it is, its culture, its ethos, its music, its art forms, its churches, etc. And that is huge to my mind. And if you can create a great experiential experience, people will pay you any value. Now that you have a new airport, you will get direct flights. And therefore, my objective of saying this is that it's important that Goa projects itself as a very sustainable destination. It projects itself as a green destination, as a resilient and responsible destination, and it's as a destination which believes in providing skills to its people. It should nurture its tourism. It should be a product of a lot of local enterprise. Kerala is a product of great local entrepreneurship. It's not a product of people coming from all over, but it's a product of local entrepreneurship, and it's a product of great destination management, which to my mind needs to be pushed in Goa in a very big way. Second point I want to make is that Goa is a unique place for startups, and we should make Goa a unique innovation hub. To my mind, Goa's climate, its natural beauty, and the good connectivity must be leveraged to make Goa a startup hub. Goa's very bright talent should be incentivized to stay in Goa and become entrepreneurs. My belief is, much like what we did in several other parts of India through the Atal Innovation Mission, we actually provided tinkering labs at schools. We ensured that machine learning, robotics, Internet of Things, augmented reality, virtual reality, 3D printing were provided to children from class 5th onwards. Now, Goa should ensure that every school of Goa has a tinkering lab. Every school of Goa must have a tinkering lab, and that will create the environment which will drive, and when you are able to create an environment with high-speed digital connectivity, ease of regulation, you will attract startups from all over the world to Goa, because Goa has a unique beauty and charm to it, to my mind. And therefore, making Goa as a great startup hub, starting by putting tinkering labs in the hands of children here, starting innovation centers, incubation hubs, etc., will really drive startup movement in Kerala in a very big way. And my other viewpoint on this is that India is today seeing the rise of global capability centers. We have about close to 2,000 global capability centers which have created high quality jobs in several parts of southern India, starting from Karnataka, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu. There's no reason, Andhra, there's no reason why global capability centers should not come to Goa and should not be supported by good quality infrastructure. So my view is that making it as a startup hub, making it a global capability center where the top companies of the world come here, we create a vast amount of jobs in Goa. The third point I want to make is that Goa must become India's greenest and the most sustainable state. There's no reason why we should not ensure that Goa has actually set a target to ensure 100% renewable energy usage. 100% renewable energy usage across all sectors by 2050. But only 7% has been achieved till now in 2024. And you should actually undertake the tripling of renewable energy project, accelerate the integration of renewable energy into the Goa grid, build necessary infrastructure to cash in the abundance of opportunity here, push for rooftop solar, leverage funds on the rooftop to solar subsidy program, ensure that every house in Goa has a rooftop solar, and really make this the key driver of growth, that is renewable energy, make Goa the greenest and the most sustainable state of India. And the fourth point I want to make is that make Goa the center of driving electric mobility. The world has shifted. 70% of China is today being driven by electric mobility. Norway has about 60%. Many states which believe in sustainability drive electrical mobility. And therefore, Goa actually tops the country in per capita vehicle ownership. You have about 625 vehicles per 1,000 people. You are ranking globally. Goa ranks, I did not know this, but Goa ranks 15th globally in vehicle density. 15th globally in vehicle density. The number of vehicles is just too high for Goa. But transportation accounts for 40%. Transportation accounts for 40% of the greenhouse gas emission of Goa. And this is being driven by high vehicle density and a very unorganized transport sector. Your vehicles are all reliant on fossil fuel. All reliant on fossil fuel, and the people of Goa don't make any hue and cry about this. And therefore, Goa must target for 100% electrification, 100% electrification of two-wheelers by 2027. There's no reason why 2027 Goa should not achieve 100% electrification of two-wheelers, 100% electrification of commercial four-wheelers by 2030, and 100% electrification of buses by 2030. This is a doable target, very much doable. This can be achieved through a combination of mandates, aggregation of demand to bring down costs, and concessional finance through financial institutions. There's very many ways by which you can get concessional finance. So target that in 24 months, all commercial two-wheelers should go electric. Mandate registration of electric commercial four-wheelers starting January 2026. All new taxi registration should be electric. 100% electrification of airport taxi fleet. If you want to raise the value of your destination, if you want to go up the value chain, make sure that all airport taxi fleet, by aggregating demand and running, they are all electric taxis, and aggregate demand for buses operated by schools and other institutions, and run a bulk procurement tender by the state government. This is critical because Goa should not go the Delhi way. Look at the air quality. 42 of our cities fall in the 50 most polluting cities of India. Goa should not go that way. And for Goa not to go that way, and to ensure that we provide a good quality of life for the citizens of Goa, we must ensure that all these electric buses, all from two-wheelers to four-wheelers to three-wheelers to buses, all should go electric within a defined time frame. The next point I want to make is that you need to unlock Goa's resource efficiency potential, and this would mean that ensure waste aggregation at source. Municipal bodies must segregate biodegradable and recyclable waste and work with communities, hotels and restaurants to implement decentralized system. We must have mandatory on-site water waste management, and Goa must ban. There's too much of plastic floating around Goa. And the citizens of Goa has allowed this to happen, so please ban single-use plastics. A complete ban on single-use plastics must take effect from April 2025 and enforce the energy conservation building code in all new construction. And mandate rainwater harvesting systems through the Goa Building and Construction Regulation Act. All this I'm saying because this is critical for Goa. Incentivize clean beaches. The beaches are becoming dirty with too much of pressure. You need to provide rewards to fishermen and communities to actively maintain clean beaches and collect marine litter. And this I'm saying because your strength lies in clean beaches, and therefore this is critical. The next point I want to make is that improve learning outcomes and mainstream vocational education. I'm making this point because there has been a very rapid decline in Goa's score. Goa's score in the Ministry of Education Performance Grading Index, released in 2023, demonstrates that Goa's score has fallen from 750, 800 points. In the bracket, it used to be in the bracket of 750 to 800. It has fallen to 521 to 580 bracket, and Goa has recorded very poor performance in learning outcomes. The state finds itself below the national average in mathematics and science and has fallen behind since last survey. And this, to my mind, is shocking. This, to my mind, is shocking because Goa always used to be ahead in learning outcomes. This fall in the performance and learning outcomes, particularly in maths and science, is shocking, and technology, particularly artificial intelligence, must be leveraged in classrooms to improve learning outcomes, especially at foundational levels. It's important that AI, we must test students regularly, put their performance in public domain so that their parents, teachers, everybody puts pressure, and Goa bounces back to be the #1 in learning outcome. My view is that Goa has a huge potential in this, and Goa must focus. This is critical for the future of Goa. Improving learning outcomes for the children of Goa is critical. And at the same time, vocational education must be mainstream. Goa can leverage central funds and partner with private sector and philanthropic institutions to upgrade the industrial training institutions. Courses must be industry-led to ensure employability, and therefore my belief is that both vocational education and learning outcomes is critical. The next point I want to make is improving health infrastructure and outcomes. And I'm making this point because according to the performance audit of public health infrastructure and management of health services in Goa by the CAG of India, there are huge gaps in terms of health infrastructure and human resources that must be addressed at the earliest. The state has to fill up all vacancies in Goa Medical College and Hospital. I was shocked to learn this. There is a 51% shortfall in availability of doctors. This is the only tertiary hospital in the state. Only tertiary hospital in the state, there's a 51% shortage of availability of doctors. And the vacancy of doctors has ranged from 18 to 81% in super specialty departments. This is a report by the CAG of India. And in terms of infrastructure, there's a shortfall of 71 sub-centers, that is 24%, 20 primary health centers, that is 42%, 6 community health centers, that is 50% in the state. And therefore, the focus, if you can't have talent, you can't have top-class manpower without improving learning outcomes and without improving health outcomes. And this, to my mind, is critical. The state has to take proactive action to fill gaps in availability of diagnostics, maternity and dietary services in the primary health center, and this has been pointed out by the Indian Public Health Standards in their study. Therefore, there is a potential, there's a huge amount of work which needs to be driven by the state in education and health to bounce back to be the #1 state of India. I'm making some of these points because I ran this aspirational district program of the government of India These were 115 of the most backward districts. The Prime Minister said, don't call them backward, call them aspirational. And we drove competition between district and district. And minute to minute, when I was a young officer, data was not available. But today, data is available on a real-time basis on your mobile. You can rank. You can do it on an incremental ranking. Real-time data, put it in public domain, name and shame your primary health center, name and shame your students, name and shame your hospitals. Put that data in public domain. Parents should know where their students are. Teachers must know where their students are. Everybody must know. And therefore, that will, the competition, the pressure, the huge pressure will greatly improve. Without competition, without data, without good governance. The failure is not of money. Money is available. It's the failure of good governance which that's why many districts, many states remain backward. Goa should not be allowed to fall in that trap. Goa must emerge as the #1 state in India, and that to my mind is critical. So therefore, where can Goa reach by 2047 is the question. And to my mind, this is a function of several things. Sustained growth year after year, year after year. For us to become a 2047 economy, a $30 trillion economy, India needs to grow at 9 to 10% per annum year after year, year after year, year after year. 3 decades of 9 to 10% growth. Now, very few countries have done this in the world. Japan did this post-World War II, Korea did it in between 60 and 90, and in recent times China has done it. All other countries fell in the middle income trap. So if India is to achieve the Prime Minister's vision, Mr. Modi's vision of 2047, we need sustained growth, we need ease of doing business, we need investor-friendly, predictable policies, we need infrastructure and connectivity, we need law and order, we need ease of doing business, we need development of human resources. These are critical to my mind for Goa, and if Goa is able to do this, then what happens to Goa? Now, it's important to understand where Goa is. Goa's present GDP is 54,500 crore. 54,500 crore. Last 4 years, Goa has grown. Last 5 years, Goa has grown only at 2%. Last year, it grew at 7.1%. There was a COVID impact, but you've grown at only 2%. If you grow at 6%, if you grow at 6%, you'll take your GDP to 2 lakh crores. If you grow at 8%, you take it to 3.2 lakh crores. But if you grow at 10%, you will take it to 5 lakh crores. 5 lakh crore. And what happens to the per capita income? It's important to understand this, because your per capita income right now is about 3.5 lakhs if you grow at 6%. If you grow at 6%, you will take it to 12 lakhs. If you grow at 8%, you will take it to 18 lakhs. But if you grow at 10%, you will take it to 30 lakhs. Imagine, from 3.5 lakhs, you will take it to 30 lakhs. You will be ahead of Korea, you will be ahead of Taiwan, you will be almost on par with Singapore. And that is what Goa needs to do. It must have the hunger, the ambition, the huge hunger to grow at 10% and nothing less than 10% to transform the lives of citizens in Goa. And that, to transform the lives of citizens in Goa, needs you to grow at 10%, because that is the impact of the compounding power of growth. There's a huge difference between growing at 6% and growing at 10%. If you grow at 10%, based on 7 or 8 things that I've said, you would have transformed the life of every citizen of Goa, and you would have taken Goa on par with the best performing countries in the world. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
I'd like to thank Mr. Kant for that.
Check.
I'd like to thank Mr. Amitabh Kant for a very, very powerful message that he's delivered. I think what we need to take, this is one person that has spoken our language, because whenever we speak to each other, we talk about, you know, I was with Mr. Timlo on the line that day, and he raised a few issues, which actually Mr. Kant has addressed today. So I think, you know, Mr. Kant has very kindly agreed to take a few questions. When we say few, means they're really few, because, you know, he's given such a wonderful speech, so much of data, I don't know how he does it. In his mind, so much of amazing data that he has given us. So whoever would like to ask, I would like the person to stand up and please introduce him or herself. And let's restrict it to maybe 3 to 4 questions.
Amitabhji, welcome to the land of Feni, Konkani, where Amar Akbar, Amrinder, Anthony live in harmony. Sir, my question is a pan-India question related mainly to the populous states and Manipur. How important, sir, is harmony to the need for growth of economy? And are we living in denial of the fact that the coexistent quotient between Amar and Akbar in many populous states and in Manipur is disturbing the growth quotient of our country, sir?
So let me first and foremost say that harmony is very critical. There's no doubt about it. And let me also say that I've worked with this government for the last 10 years since it's been in power, and I've implemented a vast range of schemes from Startup India, Make in India, Aspirational District Program, Tinkering Lab, Production Linked Incentive Scheme, etc. Vast range of schemes. I have never been told ever that you don't give a scheme to this particular community or that particular community. The basic approach of the Prime Minister and the government has been do 100% saturation of every single scheme. 100% saturation. Go to a village, go to a district, go to a subdivision, do 100% saturation, provide the scheme to every single person. And that is why our spread and our impact has been across. When we did the aspirational district, we made an impact on every single citizen. We didn't look at the religion or anything. And therefore, my belief is that's how the country should develop. The country should develop by making everybody progress. And that's what we've been doing. And that's why the country has grown at high rates. It's not grown because we've allowed one community to develop and not the other community. There must be growth across everyone, and that's what's been done on the grassroots level.
The Viksit Bharat program, Goa has to sync with it to get India on the same level as such. What do you think would be the attributes? Number one, the willpower of the government, the awareness of the people in this direction, the education system to improve, or to, the center's directive. What would be your take on that?
No, don't wait for center's directive. You have a very young, very dynamic, very vibrant chief minister. And the chief minister is the chief executive of the state. He will drive the state. I have just pointed out that a state must grow its ambition and hunger must be to grow at 10%. per annum for 3 decades. 10% per annum for 3 decades to be able to create jobs and provide a better quality of life for its citizens. And that would entail a vast range of things, including improving learning outcomes, improving health outcomes, making yourself a base for startups, driving foreign direct investments, driving tourism up the value chain. All these are critical for Goa. To grow at 10% is a very tough job, and for 3 decades, year after year, and all this needs to be done. And all of you will have to assist and support the Chief Minister in doing this. You will not get an opportunity to have a young Chief Minister like this again.
Sir, good evening. I'm Amit Tamba. Now, you, in your talk, you did an interesting contrast where you were talking about the US and how Google and so many other corporates, basically, they have taken up the lead. And there are certain things that can be, negatively looked at as the fact that they own information, they own the personal data, so on. India has gone a slightly different way. The question sort of is it the government's job to be able to, how much, where does the government stop and the, private sector can take off? If you look at the things that India is struggling with, if you look at quantum computing or so many other examples you talked about, very recently Google has released Willow, which is the, next gen quantum processor. So by corporates, by private sector being obscenely successful in some ways, okay, I think it has actually benefited the US in a remarkable manner. So how does the government function in a way that while it provides a framework, it allows the private sector to take off? Because I'll just give one example. If you look at Paytm and all that, set of companies that came up, they were really pulled back by the UPI. Again, I'm absolutely in favor of the UPI, but I'm just talking about that transition phase that they struggled with it. But by comparison, in the US, the PayPal mafia, they have gone on to create like a plethora of different companies. So this is sort of a contrasting story, if you can comment on.
So our view is that the model for the future has to be open source, it has to be open API, it has to be globally interoperable. These should not be closed models. You should allow the private sector a huge play. They should be innovators. And that is what digital public infrastructure is all about. Allow them to innovate on top of the public layer, a public interest layer. If you do not do this, then you will create models which are closed models where all the data of citizens will be owned by them, and that is now becoming a challenge in both Europe and in USA. So Europe, through its GDPR Act, has clamped down on it. USA will clamp down tomorrow or day after, and the model for the future is the model of digital public infrastructure. That's my belief, and that's the belief now of all G20 countries, where the private sector must innovate, but on top of the public interest layer.
Hello. Good evening. I'm Saurabh. I run a tech company here in Goa. I have 2 questions related to employment. The first is that this weekend, after many years, I was in UP, and it really hit me. You were also saying that the government has 170 different schemes where it's putting money directly into the bank accounts of beneficiaries and doing so much for the public. And we continue to grow at a very almost blazing pace. But wealth inequality is also rising. And so at the bottom of the pyramid, it is the government which is supporting. And I no longer believe what people used to say 20 years ago, that the people at the bottom don't want to work. They're very aspirational. So why are we, I mean, I'm sure, it's a big question, but what is the government doing and what can business do to help these people get out of poverty? Because clearly they don't want to be there either.
So important question. So my belief is that actually India grows. India grows, and this has been analyzed in a new book by a professor called Karthik Muralidharan. India grows on 50% of its population. The other 50% of the population is either wage earners in agriculture or they are recipients of government schemes. Now, they want to change their lives. They want to move away from being wage earners to be a productive agent and get good quality jobs. My whole lecture was about good quality jobs which have to be created. They want it, the government wants it, and that's why the huge focus on education, health is critical. Because talent drives investment and investment drives growth. Without creating talent, you will not be able to attract investment. Without investment, you will not have growth. And therefore, it's important that we lay emphasis on nutrition. A weak mother produces a weak child who's stunted and who's wasted, and then he's not able to absorb, and the first 1,000 days for a child is very, very important. So from the time of pregnancy to the time of delivery and the first 1,000 days is very, very important. And that's why I lay a lot of importance to nutrition, to learning outcomes, to health outcomes, so that you make the other 50% very strong component. And that is what the government is working towards by bringing in Ayushman Bharat scheme, by focusing on learning outcomes, the new education policy. So India is growing at 8.2% on 50% of its population. Imagine if the 100% of the population becomes a productive agent, you will grow at 10% for sure. That's critical. And that's why I laid so much of emphasis on education and health for Goa. Because if Goa has to grow at 10%, it can't do without improving learning outcomes and health outcomes, and without filling up all the vacant posts in medical college, etc., and primary health centers. And I did all this data because Mr. Dempo made me work so hard.
I just had another. Oh.
We welcome our Honorable CM.
Since the Honorable Chief Minister has come, let me take this opportunity of welcoming him, because Goa is very fortunate to have a very young and a very dynamic Chief Minister who's brought the government back into power for the second time, and you will never get, I said this in my speech, sir, that Goa will never get this opportunity again. And I was talking about the vision of the Prime Minister to make India from a $4 trillion to a $30 trillion economy, which will require us to increase our GDP by 9 times and per capita income by 8 times. And without Goa growing at 10% per annum for 3 decades, it can never be achieved. And this can only be done under the leadership of the Honorable Chief Minister. And therefore, we are truly honored by his presence today.
I request Ms. Ambika Kamath Dhakenkar to kindly welcome our Honorable CM, the bouquet of flowers. We'll continue with some questions. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Most respected Chief Minister, Dr. Pramod Sawant, a very warm welcome to you on behalf of the Goa Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We are extremely grateful that despite your pressing schedules for today, you were kind enough to come and grace this occasion as the chief guest of our Leader Speak series. Over the last almost 45 minutes, we heard Mr. Kant, who had an amazing story to tell us about where India has gone and where Goa should be in this growth story of India. Sir, with your permission, I'll just try and sum up some of the key points that Mr. Kant said about Goa and India, so that we could carry on, you could then give your response and what Goa is probably doing in many of these areas. Mr. Khan said, of course, first he started this story of India's growth with mind-boggling numbers. Really, I think he deserves a real applause for the kind of data that he churned out, which is not easy to have in one's mind. He has advised urgent action in the sense that he said that Goa must be the premier investment destination in India, which should be backed by both government and industry with increasing administrative, corporate and political will. He has spoken the language that all of us have been speaking, that private sector has to drive productivity. Government is always there to back the private sector, but we are the ones who have to drive productivity. Like he said, the socialist society has to be dismantled. Goa has to shift to high-value destination, moving back to its roots. Then he talked about experiential tourism, leveraging MOPA for increasing high-value tourism for the state, and sustainable, responsible destination. I think the Honorable CM will speak about what Goa government is doing in terms of sustainability and greening of the economy. But I thought that some of these points would be very valuable and could be key learnings for Goa. He also talked about Goa being a unique innovation hub. The seeding of the innovations hub will start with the education system, which he also talked at great length. One of the ideas that I was truly impressed with, and I think we should pursue this, we will sit separately with the Honorable Chief Minister to attract global capability centers to Goa, support them with good quality infrastructure. I think Goa can play a very key role here, and as Goa is liked by not only India but the whole globe, I think we should work towards this idea. He also said that Goa must become India's greenest and the most sustainable state, which we all agree to, and make Goa the center of driving electric mobility. I think we must appreciate some of the initiatives that the government of Goa has taken in the transport sector. I think CM recently, just today announced a smart card for the buses, which he may talk about later. And overhauling the transport sector, I think is a very doable target and very critical. Clean beaches, I think he focused a lot on clean beaches. I think there are plans of the government to collect garbage and start the cleaning drive. Waste segregation at source, which we have been talking about, and strongly ban single-use plastic. Mandate rainwater harvesting, which also we've been trying not only with the government but also in the private sector. And reward communities to keep clean. He gave the example of fisher folk. Improve learning outcomes urgently and vocational education to be mainstream. And some of the data that he gave, I think we all should put our attention. It is not only the government's job, it is also the private. Many of us here, including me, are in the sector of education. So I think we should give a lot of emphasis on this. And courses must be industry-led. He dwelt upon improving health infrastructure and plugging the gaps, and talked about transparency in which will create public pressure. Sustained growth year after year, and which he mentioned again to the Honorable Chief Minister, about 10% Goa growing in the next 30 years would put really Goa in a different position and would be one of the most richest and the most sought after destination. I think an outstanding speech, critical nomenclature that Mr. Kant used. He's our Honorable Chief Minister, is young and dynamic, and he is the Chief Executive of the state. And we all need to rally behind him and support him in all the key initiatives that he can. Once again, Mr. Kant, a big thank you from the bottom of our hearts at the chamber. And we now request our Honorable Chief Minister, Dr. Pramod Sawant, to deliver his address. Thank you.
Good evening, friends. गोंय मुक्तीच्या पूर्व संध्येक आमी सगळे जाण मेळटा. सगळ्यात पयली फाल्यां आमी 63वो गोंय मुक्ती दिन साजरो करपाचो आसा. तेजे इन एडवान्स तुमकां सगळ्या जाणांक उणीत परबी. गोवा चेंबर ऑफ कॉमर्स हांगासर आयोजीत केल्ल्या हे आयच्या टॉकाक आमच्या मदीं रिस्पेक्टेड श्री अमिताभ कांतजी, इंडियाज G20 शेर्पा, त्यांचे भाषण तुम्ही आत्ताच विकसित भारत विकसित गोंय या संकल्पनेचेर तुमच्या मुखार दवरला. Sorry, I'll speak in Konkani only so that will connect with heart to heart. Otherwise, it will, sometimes it's not connect. That's why. कारण त्यांच्यानी जे विषय तुमच्या मुखार मांडले, हे विषय म्हाका दिसता आमच्या सगळ्यातल्या मना काळजातले आसा. आणि हे विषय तशे पळोवंक वचत जाल्यार फक्त सरकार करू शकना. अनलेस एंड अंटील इंडस्ट्री पीपल सरकाराच्या बरोबर येना जाल्यार हे केन्नाच जावपाक शकना. म्हणून हांवें म्हटलें की ताळी एका हातांत वाजना, ताळी वाजयतलो आसत जाल्यार दोनूय हात जाय पडटा. तुमचो सगळ्यांचो सपोर्ट, तुमचो सगळ्यांचो आधार जर आसत जाल्यारूच आमी खऱ्या अर्थात विकसित भारत 2047 ऑनरेबल प्रायम मिनिस्टर नरेंद्र मोदीजी हांचें स्वप्न विकसित गोंय 2047 न्ही, हांवें मुद्दामून सांगता कारण पुराय देश विकसित जावपाक फुडलीं 25 वर्सां लागतलीं माननीय मोदीजीच्या लिडरशिपच्या सकयल. पण ताज्याय पेक्षा 10 वर्सां पयलीं आमी विकसित जावपाक जाय. म्हणून इट शूड बी मॅक्झिमम टू मॅक्झिमम विकसित गोवा 2037 बिकॉज वी आर एडवान्स स्टेट. कितलेशेच म्हणजे आमी बाकीचे जर पॅरामिटर्स पळयत, इफ यू कंपेर द पॅरामिटर्स जाल्यार त्या सगळ्या पॅरामिटर्सांनी आमी खूब फुडें आसा. हांव म्हणत जाल्यार इलेक्ट्रिसिटी फॉर ऑल, वॉटर फॉर ऑल, सॅनिटेशन फॉर ऑल, GSDP, रेस्ट ऑल रेशोज वी आर मच अहेड ऑफ अदर स्टेट्स. आणि त्याच खातीर हांवें म्हटलां इट इज नॉट 47 बट इट शूड बी इट इज अ 37. ह्या 10 वर्सां पयलीं आमी पूर्ण विकसीत गोंय हाच्या खातीर फुडें वचपाक जाय. आतां हे सगळें पळयता आसतना आमी बी हे विकसीत गोवा 2047 हाजो विजन प्लॅन तयार करपाक सुरवात केला. थोड्या दिसा भितरूच इंडस्ट्रियलिस्टा कडेन उलोवपा खातीर आमची पुराय टीम जी विकसीत गोंय हो प्लॅन गोवा विजन 2047 जो तयार करता ते तुमच्याय कडेन डिस्कस करतले. म्हाका दिसता हाज्या पयलीं थोड्या जाणां कडेन ऑलरेडी डिस्कस केला, स्पेशली विथ द चेंबर ऑफ कॉमर्स हांचे सगळे जे पदाधिकारी आसत, इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट आसत किंवा बाकी हांच्या कडेन तो प्लॅन म्हणजे हांवें त्या खातीर म्हटलें विल टेक यू पीपल ऑन बोर्ड देन ओनली इट इज पॉसिबल, अदरवायज नॉट. म्हणून हो तयार करता आसतना गोवा विजन which is a growth with responsibility. It is not only the one-sided, it is with responsibility. म्हणून म्हटलं आमकां गोंय हे विकसीत करता आसतना तुम्ही पेडण्यापासून काणकोण पर्यंत पळयात. आमी पळयत जाल्यार स्टेटीच्या प्रत्येक कॉर्नरात आमी आमचो इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेव्हलपमेंट आणि ह्युमन रिसोर्स डेव्हलपमेंट तयार करीत आसा. इट इज नॉट ओनली द इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेव्हलपमेंट. हांवें कित्याक सांगलां तर तुम्ही पळयशात जाल्यार मोपा इंटरनॅशनल एअरपोर्ट पासून एक एंड पासून दुसऱ्या एंडापर्यंत आमी तयार केल्लो आमचो नॅशनल हायवे, आमचे स्टेट्स हायवे, डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स हायवे, एवरी बॉर्डर विच इज कनेक्टिंग टू द कॅपिटल विच इज अ रोड, रेल, पोर्ट आणि एअरपोर्ट हे कनेक्टेड करपी जे आमी अंडर द PM गतिशक्ती पोर्टल, परत एकदा सांगता की ह्या अंडर म्हणजे पहिली स्टेट आसतली की त्या पोर्टलाच्या अंडर पुराय कनेक्टिविटी दिवपा खातीर 100% वी आर वर्किंग. आणि अशा सिस्टमांतल्यान वर्किंग करता आमी एट प्रेझेंट जे इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर तयार करता ताजो विजन फुडल्या 25 वर्सां खातीर ते इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर त्याच पद्दतीन सस्टेन उरचें म्हणून आमी काम करता. आणि हे सगळे इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर तुम्ही पळयलां आसतलें की ऑनरेबल प्रीमियम लिडरशीप फाटल्या 10 वर्सांक जी गोंयांत इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेव्हलपमेंट जाली इतकी डेव्हलपमेंट फाटल्या 50 वर्सांक जावंक नाशिल्ली कारण आमी 63व्या मुक्ती दिना आसा. म्हाका दिसता तुमी एक्सेप्ट करपाक जाय की ही इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर हाज्या पयलीं पॉसिबलूय नाशिल्ली गोंया खातीर अनलेस एंड अंटील द सपोर्ट ऑफ ऑनरेबल प्रायम मिनिस्टर किंवा डबल इंजिन सरकार हाज्या सपोर्टा शिवाय इट इज पॉसिबलूच नाशिल्ली. इतक्या मोठ्या प्रमाणात आमी ही इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेव्हलपमेंट तयार करून दवरला. आणि दिस इज अ ऑपॉर्च्युनिटी फॉर ऑल. इट इज नॉट इट इज ऑल फॉर द एवरी इंडिविज्युअल, एवरी इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट. हाज्या खातीर डिफरंट ऑपॉर्च्युनिटीज अवेलेबल एट प्रेझेंट इन द स्टेट ऑफ गोवा इज देअर. एके सायडींतल्यान आमी पळयता की IDCत केल्ले आमी रिफॉर्म जर तुम्ही पळयत इट इज एन ऑफकोर्स इट इज ऑपॉर्च्युनिटी आसा सगळ्या खातीर. म्हणजे आमी IDCत हाडलेले नवे रिफॉर्म्स आसतले किंवा आमी आमच्या इलेक्ट्रॉनिक आणि मॅन्युफॅक्चरिंग सिटी विच इज एट अ तुवेम थंयसर जे नवीन रिफॉर्म्स हाडल्या दोज आर रेडी टू इन्वेस्ट इन द इलेक्ट्रॉनिक आणि मॅन्युफॅक्चरिंग सेक्टर. हाज्या खातीर हांव कनेक्टिविटीचेरूच उलयना तर थंयसर ज्या पद्दतीचे जे इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर इन्क्लुडींग इलेक्ट्रिसिटी आसतले, इन्क्लुडिंग कनेक्टिविटी आसतली, वॉटर रोडवेज आसतले किंवा वॉटरवेज आसतली, ही आमी थंयसर म्हणजे IDC तर केल्याच केल्या, पण जी इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मॅन्युफॅक्चरिंग सिटी जी डेव्हलप करता थंयसरूय ही कनेक्टिविटी जी दिवपाक आमी सक्सेसफुल जाल्ले आसा. नाव वी आर प्लॅनिंग एक्चुअली फॉर फर्दर प्लॅनिंग, म्हणजे रेल कनेक्टिविटी अजून मोपा इंटरनॅशनल एअरपोर्टाक कशी दिवची हाज्या खातीर आमचो फ्युचर प्लॅन आसा. वी हॅव कन्वर्टेड द लॉजिस्टिक इनटू द इंडस्ट्री, टुरिझम इनटू द इंडस्ट्री, आणि हाका इंडस्ट्रीचो फायदो कशा पद्दतीन मेळचो हाज्या खातीर सरकार एके दृश्टीत काम करीत आसा. म्हणजे त्या खातीर हांवें म्हटलें ग्रोथ विथ द रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ह्या सेक्टराचेर काम करता आसतना आमी वेगवेगळ्या बिझनेसीस वेगवेगळ्या पद्दतीत कसो सपोर्ट करचो पडटलो, इज ऑफ डुईंग द बिझनेस वेगवेगळ्या पद्दतीत कशें स्टेप अप करचें पडटलें हाज्या खातीर सातत्यात आमी गोंय सरकार प्रयत्न करीत आसा. आमी तशें पळोवंक वचत जाल्यार अचिवमेंट स्टेप्स टुवर्ड्स अ सस्टेनेबल ग्रोथ, इट इज एन सस्टेनेबल ग्रोथ कशा पद्दतीत गोंयची जावची हाज्या खातीर सातत्यात गोंय सरकार काम करीत आसा. हांव सस्टेनेबल ग्रोथ इतक्याच खातीर म्हणटलो की गोंयांत इतक्या मोठ्या प्रमाणात इंडस्ट्री जरी आशिल्ली जाल्यार ओवरऑल म्हणजे वेस्ट मॅनेजमेंट पासून बाकीच्यो सगळ्यो गजाली पयली स्टेट आसतली की इट इज ट्रिटींग ईच अँड एवरीथिंग. म्हणजे तुमी जर पळयशात वेस्ट मॅनेजमेंट प्लांट एके वटेंतल्यान, नेक्स्ट म्हणजे सालिगांव आसतलो किंवा तो कुडचड्यार आसतलो, नेक्स्ट केमिकल वेस्ट आसतले, ई वेस्ट आसतले, कन्स्ट्रक्शन वेस्ट आसतले, STP वेस्ट आसतले, ETP वेस्ट आसतले, एवरीथिंग, आणि प्लस मॉनिटरिंग करप हे खूप बऱ्या पद्दतीत आमी चालू केलां. म्हणजे कित्याक तर आफ्टर ऑल वी आर द टुरिस्टीक स्टेट. हे जर आमी करिना आसत जाल्यार इन लॉंग रन टुरिझम हांगासर सस्टेन जावपाक शकना, जाल्यार टुरिझम म्हणजे थोड्याच वर्सां भितर डबघाईक वचूं शकतलें. म्हणून तर हाजेर चेक आनी कंट्रोल दवरता आसतनाय सस्टेनेबल डेव्हलपमेंट स्टेटींतल्यान खूप मोठ्या प्रमाणात म्हणजे बाकीचे सगळे आमी करपाक सुरवात केल्ली आसा. म्हणून गोंयची नॅचरल ब्युटी सेफगार्ड करता आसतना आतां म्हाका सांगपाक प्राऊड फील जाता, वी आर द फर्स्ट स्टेट विथ द 70% ग्रीन कवरेज. जर खंय आसत जाल्यार ती गोंयांत आसा. आणि अलॉंग विथ द बायोडायवर्सिटी सायट जर आयडेंटिफाय करपी खंयचे पयले राज्य आसत जाल्यार ते गोंय राज्य आसा. रामसार सायटीचेर पयली सायट म्हणजे आमी नंदा लेक जर रजिस्टर्ड करपी पुराय इंडियेंत जर पयलें खंयचें राज्य आसत जाल्यार तें गोंय राज्य आसा. म्हणजे एके वटेंतल्यान जर आमी म्हटलें 3702 स्क्वेअर किलोमिटराच्या मदीं आमी तशें पळोवंक वचत जाल्यार नॉट 30% लँड इज ऑल्सो अवेलेबल फॉर अवर रेस्ट ऑल एक्टिविटी. म्हणजे 70% एके वटेंतल्यान टोटल वेस्टर्न घाट, दुसरे वटेंतल्यान म्हणजे CZMP आणि CRZ आणि ताच्या मदलो बेल्ट, आणि इतक्याच हितूर ह्यो सगळ्यो एक्टिविटी करता आसतना म्हणजे गोंयांत ग्रोथ डेव्हलपमेंट करप इट इज व्हेरी डिफिकल्ट. आणि तातूंतल्या तितूर गोंयांत आसा तशें एनवायरमेंटलिस्ट आमकां खंयच पळोवपाक मेळचे ना. काल तर एकटो उठलो आनी मायनिंगूच पुराय बंद करा, मायनिंगेची गोंयांत गरज ना म्हणून सांगपी बी एनवायरमेंटलिस्ट जे आहा पळय न्ही ते गोंयांत आसा. तांकां टॉलरेट करूनय बी आमी म्हणटा की एके वटेंतल्यान इकॉनॉमिकल ग्रोथ आणि दुसरे वटेंतल्यान सस्टेनेबल ग्रोथ हे सरकाराचो सँडविच कशा पद्दतीत जाता आसतलो हे तुमच्या लक्षात आयलां आसतलें. बट हे सगळें करून सुद्धा म्हणजे खंयच न डगमगताय बी आमी इकॉनॉमिकल ग्रोथ फुडें वचपाक जाय. सातत्यात सरकार आपल्या परीत काम करीत आसा. हांव तितूर वचना कारण प्रत्येक फावटी म्हणटले CM उलयल्ले फावटी एनवायरमेंटलिस्टांचेर घसरता, हांव घसरना. बट हांवें तो विशय कालूच आयला म्हणून सांगलें. कालूच एकटो उठलो आमी खंय तरी आत्तां मायनिंग सुरू करता तें आसा, उठलो आनी मायनिंगेचीच गरज ना म्हणपाक लागलो, कांयच गरज ना, बंद. वॉट इज दीस? एटलिस्ट विचार करपाक जाय आमकां. आमी त्या खातीर म्हटलं आमी खंयसरूच म्हणजे नो ऑफकोर्स वी वॉन्ट अ सस्टेनेबल मायनिंग. आमकां सर्वायव जातलें जाल्यार तेची गरज आसा, त्या शिवाय इट इज नॉट पॉसिबल एट ऑल. हांव तितूर वचना. एनी हाव आमी क्लीन एनर्जी फॉर द गोवा हाज्या खातीर सातत्यात सरकार रिन्युएबल एनर्जीचेर भर दिता आसतना म्हणजे PM सूर्यघर योजना सोड, त्याचे PM सूर्यघर मुफ्त बिजली योजनाच्या सहित कमर्शियली बाकीचे फ्लोट कशें करप, आयदर सोलार आसतली, विंड आसतली, फ्लोटिंग आसतली, ही सगळी मोठ्या प्रमाणात प्रमोट करीत आसा. म्हाका दिसता ताजेर सगळ्या मोठ्या प्रमाणात इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट आणि सो मेनी पीपल are ready to invest in this sector also. We are ready to promote for the clean energy for the state of Goa. For most important is that empowering our villages. गोंय पळोवंक वचत जाल्यार तशें ल्हान म्हणजे आमी म्हणटा की 191 ग्राम पंचायत with the 14 municipalities. Honorable PM's vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat which 100% implemented in the state of पयली स्टेट जर खंयची आसतली जाल्यार ती गोंय राज्य आसतलें. PM flagship programs of the 13 programs म्हणजे 13 प्रोग्रामापैकी 80% प्रोग्राम 100% इम्प्लिमेंट करपी खंयचे राज्य आसतले जाल्यार ते गोंय राज्य आसतले. अंडर द स्वयंपूर्ण गोंय प्रोग्राम हाच्या अंतर्गत ईच अँड एवरी विलेज एम्पावर कशी करप म्हणजे ताजेर दोन्ही दृश्ट्या आमी म्हणटा ताका स्किलिंग, रिस्किलिंग, अपस्किलिंग हो कन्सेप्ट खूप बऱ्या पद्दतीन इम्प्लिमेंट करता आसतना म्हणजे अप्रेंटिसशीप प्रोग्राम तर सगळ्यात पयली इंट्रोड्यूस जाला जाल्यार तो गोंयांत जालो. दॅट विच इज आफ्टर ऑल कन्वर्टेड इंटू द इंटर्नशीप प्रोग्राम इंटू द गव्हर्मेंट ऑफ इंडिया लास्ट बजेट तो इंट्रोड्यूस जालो. बट पयली ऑलमोस्ट गोंयांतले सगळे भुरगे जेन्ना स्किल डेव्हलपमेंटाच्या पोर्टलाचेर अप्रेंटिसशीप म्हणजे एक बरो वर्क कल्चर गोंयांत जो डेव्हलप जावपाचें काम ऑलरेडी स्टार्ट जाला. आयटीआंतल्यान वेगवेगळे नवीन कोर्सीस आमी इंट्रोड्यूस केला आनी विच विल बी द प्रो इंडस्ट्री. इंडस्ट्रीक ह्युमन रिसोर्स कितें जाय त्या पद्दतीचो ह्युमन रिसोर्स क्रिएट करप आनी तो इंडस्ट्रियल सेक्टराक दिवप हें काम सरकारान ऑलरेडी सुरवात केला. इट इज म्हणजे आमी प्रत्येक आयटीआयच्या बरोबर टायअप तर आसात. आमी म्हटलं इवन दो एडवायझरी कमिटी आनी बाकीचे तांकां ज्या पद्दतीचो ह्युमन रिसोर्स जाय तो तयार करपाची सुरवात आमी केल्या. द स्वयंपूर्ण गोंय हो कन्सेप्ट इट इज नॉट फॉर ओनली फॉर द यूथ बट फॉर महिलांच्या खातीर म्हणजे इवन दो सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप तांकां सस्टेन कशें जावचें म्हणजे काल तर वी हॅव टायअप विथ द फ्लिपकार्ट म्हणजे तांचे प्रॉडक्ट इट इज एन वोकल फॉर द ग्लोबल, वोकल फॉर द लोकल आणि वोकल फॉर द ग्लोबल हो कन्सेप्ट म्हणजे आमी फक्त म्हणजे एक कन्सेप्ट म्हणून घेवना एक्च्युअली रियलिटीन तेजेर काम कशें करप हें काम सुरवात केलां. म्हणून फ्लिपकार्टा बरोबर काल आमी टायअप करून म्हणजे लोकल प्रॉडक्ट जो आसा तो ग्लोबली कसो वयचो आनी तांकांय बी स्किलिंग, रिस्किलिंग कन्सेप्ट कशा पद्दतीन दिवचे हाजेर ऑलरेडी सुरवात केला. म्हणून इट इज अ स्वयंपूर्ण गोंय कन्सेप्ट हो खूप बऱ्या पद्दतीन आमी फुडें व्हेला. त्याच हेतूंतल्यान म्हणजे 100% इम्प्लिमेंटेशन ऑफ द ऑल स्किम्स आनी हे. थर्ड थिंग इज इन टुरिजम म्हणजे आज हा मुद्दामून तशें पळोवंक वचत जाल्यार आयज आमी वन स्टेट वन कार्ड फॉर द पब्लीक ट्रान्सपोर्ट सिस्टम सिंगल कार्डाचेर पयली फावटी इंट्रोड्यूस केली. दॅट सिंगल कदंबा कार्ड विल बी द ease for everyone. No doubt, we have given the 10% concessions on that card, 50% for the senior citizen, 50% for the students. And if it is a family card, they can go anywhere. Public system improve करपा खातीर it is one of the best facilities. माझी बस सिस्टम इंट्रोड्यूस करता आसतना आयदर ते इंडस्ट्रीज आसत किंवा विलेज कनेक्टिविटी हेच्या खातीर अजूनही स्पीड अप आणि फास्ट ट्रॅक करप हाजेर आमी आनीक मोठ्या प्रमाणा खातीर भर दिल्लो आसा. डेफिनेटली आमी विकास विरासत भी और विकास भी या दोन कन्सेप्टाचेर खूप मोठ्या प्रमाणात भर दिला. हांवें कित्याक म्हटलां की सातत्यात ज्या देशाक आपलो इतिहास याद उरना त्या देशाचो फुडार बरो जावपाक शकना आनी म्हणून तर आमकां विरासत कळप हें गरजेचो आसा आनी त्याच नेटाचेर आमी विकास करपाक शकता. 63 वर्साच्या उपरांत गोंय फ्रीडम स्ट्रगलांत 74 हुतात्मे जावपी तांच्या 15 फॅमिलीक आमी आयडेंटिफाय केले फर्स्ट जनरेशनचे आनी आज स्वातंत्र्याच्या आदल्या दिसा 10 लाख रुपयाचे चॅक तांच्या फर्स्ट जनरेशनाक दिले. तांकां पेन्शनूय मेळूंक नासली, तांकां जॉबूय मेळूंक नासले. अशा 15 लोकांक आयडेंटिफाय करून 10 लाख रुपीजचे चॅक दिवपाचें काम म्हज्या सरकारान आज केलां. आमी सातत्यात गोंयांतलो हुतात्मो बाळाराया मापारी हो पयलो आशिल्लो, हो सगळे सांगात आशिल्ले, बट तेजी चली आज हयात शिवोले हांगासर रावता. तिका आफोवन हाडून तिका 10 लाख रुपीज अशा 15 लोकांक दिले. हिरवे गुर्जी पासून शेषनाथ वाडेकर ज्यांचे आमी स्मारक बांदपाचें काम म्हज्या सरकारान केलें. पण हे सगळें करता आसतना एडवान्समेंट आनी डिजिटल टॅक्नॉलॉजी गोंयांत कशी येवची हाजेरूय भर म्हज्या सरकारान दिला. म्हणून वन स्टेट वन कार्ड आसतलें किंवा लेट्स गोवा कार्ड फॉर द टुरिजम पर्पज वी हॅव इंट्रोड्यूस टुडे. त्याच बरोबर 150 फ्री वायफाय स्पॉट जे आज जे गोंयांत आमी 150 जाग्याचेर भुरग्यां खातीर फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट वायफाय स्पॉट आज इंट्रोड्यूस केले. GIS मॅप फॉर द गोवा anywhere anyone can check his property where it is located and what type of services is available around that plot. That service is already launched today our IT departments. म्हणून म्हटलें हांवें इट इज एन विरासत बी और विकास बी म्हणजे विरासतेच्या बरोबर विकास आसप हें तितकेंच म्हत्वाचें आशिल्लें. तेंय बी आमच्या सरकारात आज इंट्रोड्यूस केलां. म्हणून म्हणजे आयच्या ह्या वर्कशॉपाच्या निमित्तात बाबान रिवायव घेता आसतना म्हणजे इट इज एन इन्व्हेस्टमेंट आसतलें प्रायव्हेट सेक्टरांतलो किंवा बाकीच्यो सगळ्यो गजाली ज्यो सरकार आनी हाज्या बरोबर कशा पद्दतीन करप हें सगळें सांगता आसतना गोंय गव्हर्मेंटाचो फ्युचर एम कितें, गोंय गव्हर्मेंट खंयच्या नो डावट आमी जेन्ना विकसीत प्लॅन तयार करपाक सोदता तेन्ना आमचो फ्युचर प्लॅन जर कितें आसत क्लीन गोवा ग्रीन गोवा. आम्ही फक्त क्लीन गोवा ग्रीन गोवा म्हणना. पहिले राज्य जे आसतले की 100% सॅनिटेशन तर आम्ही अचीव केलात, 100% क्लीन वॉटर तर आम्ही म्हणजे हर घर नल से जल हे सक्सेसफुल केलात. बट 100% डोर टू डोर गार्बेज कलेक्शन हे आम्ही फोर्स करता किंवा त्याने 100% सेग्रिगेशन करता. इट इज नॉट ओनली डोर टू डोर कलेक्शन. डोर टू डोर कलेक्शन करून ते परत कोणीतरी हाडून उडोवचे हे न्ही, तर 100% परत त्याचे सेग्रिगेशन जावचे आणि वेस्ट टू वेल्थ हाजेर आम्ही परत एकदा भर दिवपा खातीर कंटिन्युअसली माय गव्हर्नमेंट इज स्ट्रेसिंग अपॉन अँड थ्रू द प्रायव्हेट पार्टनरशिप. अगेन आम्ही जर पळयशात जाल्यार वेगवेगळ्या हातूंतल्यान हे प्रोजेक्ट खूप मोठ्या प्रमाणात आम्ही प्रमोट करीत आसा. गोवा गार्बेज फ्री जावची, टोटली 100% गार्बेज फ्री जावची. तुमकांय खबर आसतलें सॉनसेडार आशिल्लो डंप जो 60 वर्सां थंयसरूच पडून आशिल्लो तो गार्बेज डंप म्हज्याच सरकारान क्लियर केला. म्हणजे ताका आमी लिगसी डंप म्हणत आशिल्ले 60 वर्सां पर्यंत कंटिन्युअसली थंयसर लिगसी डंप तयार, अजूनय अशे लिगसी डंप तयार जाल्ले आशिल्ले ते क्लियर करून थंयसरलो सॉनसडो आज पळयात जो सॉनसडो कोणाक दिसना. मडगांवांत रावता तांकां क्लियर कट खबर आहा. अवधूत बाब हांगासर आसा ते तर सारखे त्या कडेन फॅमिलियर आहा त्या सॉनसडे डंपा कडेन. ओके, तोय क्लियर करपाचें काम हे म्हज्या सरकारात केलां. रिलायबल अँड पब्लीक ट्रान्सपोर्ट सिस्टम ही डेव्हलप करची. मागीर ताज्या खातीर पब्लीक बसीस आसतल्यो. इवन दो वी आर ट्रायिंग मेट्रो रेल कशी तयार जावची फ्रॉम वन एंड टू अदर एंड, फ्रॉम पेडनेम टू काणकोण हे करता आसतना कोंकण टू कारवार हाजे कडेन ती कनेक्टिविटी जावन ती मोपा कडेन कनेक्टिविटी जावची किंवा पेंजीम कडेन कनेक्टिव्हिटी येवची. ही मेट्रो रेल गोंयांत कशा पद्दतीन स्टार्ट जावची हाजेर आमच्या सरकाराचो भर आसा. नो डाउट गोवा मायल्स आणि अदर ॲप ऑल्सो वी आर इंट्रोड्युसिंग डे बाय डे. अजूनही बी पब्लीक बस सिस्टम, पब्लीक ट्रान्सपोर्ट सिस्टम, पब्लीक टॅक्सीस इवन टॅक्सी सिस्टम अजूनही ॲप बेस इम्प्रूव करची हाजेर जो आसा पळय हाजेर आमी भर दीत आसा. नेक्स्ट सांगता आसतना इट इज एन इन्क्लुझिव्ह इकॉनॉमिक ग्रोथ. एवरी गोवन्स जो आसा पळय न्ही हो तसो पळोवंक वचत जाल्यार देर इज अ लॉट ऑफ ऑपॉर्च्युनिटी इन द स्टेट ऑफ गोवा. बट बरेचशे पळोवंक वचत जाल्यार देर इज एन लॅक ऑफ कॉर्डिनेशन्स आशिल्लें. ताज्या खातीर म्हणजे मायग्रन्सीचो इन्फ्लक्स इतको वाडत आशिल्लो. तो मायग्रन्सी इन्फ्लक्स खंय तरी बंद करपा खातीर म्हज्या सरकारान वेगवेगळो स्किलिंग रिस्किलिंग कन्सेप्ट इंट्रोड्यूस केला. म्हाका दिसता देर इज एन ऑपॉर्च्युनिटी फ्रॉम द म्हणजे आमी म्हणटा स्कील टू लो स्कील टू हाय स्कील पर्यंत अटल इन्क्युबेशन सेंटर्स वेगवेगळ्या जाग्याचेर एस्टाब्लिश करता आसतना म्हणजे स्टार्टअपाकूय प्रमोट करप आणि वेगवेगळे स्टार्टअप कशा पद्दतीन फुडें व्हरप हाजेरूय बी भर दीत आसा. क्लीन इंडस्ट्री गोंयांत कशा पद्दतीन येवप हाज्या खातीर खूब मोठ्या प्रमाणात आमी भर दीत आसा. म्हाका दिसता वेगवेगळे नॅशनल मॉडेल्स हे गोंयांत कशा पद्दतीन इम्प्लिमेंट जावचे हाज्या खातीर सदोदीत आमचें सरकार हे काम करता. एफोर्डेबल हावजींग आसतलें किंवा बाकीच्यो सगळ्यो आमी हे सगळें जर पॉसिबल आसा इट इज पयलींच हांवें म्हटलां इट इज विथ द पार्टनरशीप आनी द पार्टनरशीप विथ बिजनेसमॅन विथ द लायक चेंबर ऑफ कॉमर्स हांच्या बरोबर पार्टनरशिपांतल्यानूच हे फुडें वचूं शकता. इट इज नॉट अलोन गव्हर्मेंट कान डू इट. म्हणून तर हे गव्हर्मेंट तुमच्या बरोबर आसलेली पार्टनरशीप आमकां वेगवेगळ्या हातूंतल्यान फुडें व्हरपाक शकतली. म्हाका दिसता की हे सगळें करपा खातीर तुमी जर प्रत्येकान इनिशिएटिव्स घेतली जाल्यार खूब मोठ्या प्रमाणात आमी क्लीन गोवा ग्रीन गोवा हे स्वप्न सारकें हे स्वप्न सक्सेसफूल करपाक शकतले. हांव आयच्या श्री अमिताभ कांतजी हांच्यांनी जे तुमच्या मुखार जे भाशण दवरलें तितूंत तेंच्यांनी गोंय हे इन्व्हेस्टमेंट डेस्टिनेशन जावचें हय म्हाकाय तशेंच दिसता. आनी म्हणून तर गोंयांत एड्युकेशन हब जावपा खातीर आयदर म्हणजे NIT कंप्लीट जाली, IIT जाली, म्हाज्या टेन्युअरांत नॅशनल फॉरेन्सीक सायन्स युनिवर्सिटी हांगासर आयली, इंटरनॅशनल स्कूल ऑफ लॉ हांगासर आयलो. त्याच बरोबर आमच्या मदीं वॉटर स्पोर्ट्स इन्स्टिट्यूट्स हांगासर एस्टाब्लीश जाले. आनी हे सगळे जे अजून पूरक आसा ज्यो प्रायव्हेट 2-4 इन्स्टिट्यूट जे हांगा येतात तेकाय खूब मोठो विरोध. तशें पळोवंक वचत जाल्यार MIT गोंयांत येवपाक लागली. ताज्या उपरांत पारूल युनिवर्सिटी आनी गणपत युनिवर्सिटी 3 युनिवर्सिटीज गोंयांत एस्टाब्लीश जाता. बट तांकां विरोध करपी जे लोक आहा पळय न्ही तांकां आमी बरे लोक कोण कांयच बट तांकां विरोध करपी लोक जे आसात तांकां कोण कांयच म्हणना आनी वयल्यान ताका खूब मोठ्या प्रमाणात प्रमोशन मेळटा. एके वाटेंतल्यान जर पेपरार पळयत जाल्यार ती आम्हाला MIT नको आनी कितें व्हडली हेडलायन येता. बट तेज्या विरोधात कोणी तरी म्हणजे आमच्या सारकिल्या बऱ्या मनशाक गोंयाक कितें जाय हाजी उलोवपाची अपेक्षा आसा. म्हणजे ना जर उलयना ना न्ही जाल्यार ते म्हणटा ते खरें दिसतलें. म्हणून आमकां हांवें परत एकदां रिपीट करता, तुमी म्हणटले दोतोर परतूय तेच उलयता. मरिना प्रोजेक्ट जेन्ना गोंयांत येतलो विच इज 100% ग्रीन इंडस्ट्री, ताका विरोध करपी 4 जाण विरोधक थंयसर ते आपलो फ्लॅग घेवन रावता. कोणूय एकटोय फुडें येना, हय मरिना इंडस्ट्री गोंयांत येवपाक जाय जी 100% ग्रीन इंडस्ट्री आसा आनी विच इज 100% जॉब ऑपॉर्च्युनिटीज गोंयकारांक दिवपी, कारण हे स्कील गोंयांत अवेलेबल आसा. हे येवपी जो पर्यंत गोंयांत जायना तो पर्यंत ते जावपाक शकना. म्हणून माझी तुमकां सगळ्या जाणांक रिक्वेस्ट आसा, अशा पद्दतीन गोंय जर इनोव्हेशन हब जातलें, गोंय जर IT हब जातलें, गोंय जर इन्व्हेस्टमेंट हब जातलें आनी गोंय अशा पद्दतीन ग्रीन इंडस्ट्रीज जर फ्लरिश जातलें आसत, वी आर रेडी. हांवें परत म्हटलें बाय ऑल, म्हणजे गव्हर्मेंट रेडी आसा, बट सपोर्ट इज रिक्वायर्ड फ्रॉम द प्रायव्हेट सेक्टर, सपोर्ट इज रिक्वायर्ड फ्रॉम द यू पीपल. म्हणजे एके वटेंतल्यान एक तर सरकाराच्या सायडींतल्यान कोणी तरी बऱ्या पद्दतीन उलोवपाक जाय, नाजाल्यार सातत्यात मुख्यमंत्री आनी मंत्रीच उलयता अशें जावचें ना. जाल्यार इन्व्हेस्टर येयल्ले सुद्धा पळून वयतले. आतां बरेच जाण आपूण आपलें बंद करून वचूं काय कितें ह्या प्रश्नाचेर आसात. म्हणून माझी तुमकां सगळ्या जाणांक परत एकदा रिक्वेस्ट आसा, डेफिनेटली अमिताभ कांतजी हॅड डिलिवर्ड हिज गुड टॉक. म्हणजे ही हॅज गिवन विजन कितें आसचें, कारण ऑनरेबल प्रायम मिनिस्टर नरेंद्र मोदीजीच विजन इट इज एन आज इंडियन इकॉनॉमीचेर उलयता आसतनाय तांच्यांनी तुमकां सांगलां आसतलें की कशा पद्दतीन आमी एट द 3rd रँक आमी पावल्ले आसा ग्लोबली, फ्रॉम 10th to 5th to 3rd स्टेजीचेर आमी पावल्या. सो डेफिनेटली त्याच पद्दतीन गोंय हे जरी सगळ्यात बारीक राज्य असलें जाल्यारूय ताका पुराय देशांत एक इम्पॉर्टंट आसा. इट इज द हायेस्ट GDP जर खंयसर आसत जाल्यार ती गोंयांत आसा. आज ग्लोबली भारत म्हटलो काय सगळ्यात पयली गोंयचें नांव येता. इट इज बिकॉज ऑफ द टुरिजम आसतलें, वेगवेगळ्या सेक्टरा खातीर आसतलें. ते जर तशें मेंटेन करपाक जाय आसत जाल्यार हांव ह्या सगळ्या सेक्टराचेर उलयल्या. त्या सगळ्या सेक्टराक तुमचो सगळ्यांचो तेंको हाची गरज आसा आनी म्हाका दिसता तुमी सगळे जाण सरकारा बरोबर रावतले हाची हांव अपेक्षा करता आनी म्हाजी 2 उतरां सोंपयता. देव बरें करूं. थँक्यू.
Thank you, sir. We welcome our Honorable Minister, Sri Rohan Kaunte, Minister of IT and Tourism. A loud applause for Rohan, sir. Next, Inclusivity and Sustainability at 2047, a vision coined by our President, Mr. Srinivas Dempo, has been the guiding principle of GCCI. I now request the dignitaries to release the theme document. I request Honorable Mr. Rohan Kaunte to kindly join on stage. Also, our past presidents, Mr. Sandeep Bandare, Mr. Mangirish Paraikar, and our Vice President, Mrs. Pratima Dhon, and also Mr. Lalit Saraswat. I now request our Honorable Chief Minister, Dr. Prabhu Savanji, who kindly present a memento to Sri Amitabh Kant. President Mr. Dempo can also join. Session to our Honorable Chief Minister, Dr. Pramod Sawant.
Good evening. Honorable Chief Minister of Goa, Dr. Pramod Sawant, Mr. Amitabh Kant, India's G20 Sherpa, and our keynote speaker at this function, Honorable Minister Ron Khaute, past presidents, distinguished invitees, and my friends. It's my privilege to stand here to propose a vote of thanks for this function. First and foremost, I would like to thank our Chief Minister, Dr. Pramod Sawant, for making it possible to come here. God has gifted him with a very cheerful face and a very beautiful smile. You see him at any day, on any day, or at any point of the time of the day, even late evenings, and even on a stressful day, you'd still see the smile there. That and a very, ability to listen to someone very aptly or very attentively, an open door for all the people and an open mind for all the ideas has made, in fact, the Chamber's task very easy. Whenever we go to him with any problems, with any solutions, or with any ideas, and as you know, Chamber's main job is to lobby, to put across its own viewpoints, you always receive a receptive audience, and most of the times the suggestions are implemented. I'm sure even what Mr. Amitabh Kant has spoken today, and I'm sure our President would make a synopsis of this and would present to him, and that would receive the kind of attention that was due. I knew because of your preoccupation you missed some part of it, but I'm sure that Chambers would present you with your views. Thank you very much, sir, for your presence here. I would also like to be I'm very grateful to Mr. Amitabh Kant for being here. I asked one of my friends, when I was very young, as to what were the attributes of a great speech and what were the attributes of a great speaker. He was, of course, a Hindi speaker. And he said, there are 5 words starting with yes. Sarahana or prashansa, we said. Samasya, samadhan, sadhan or spurti. You start with a praise of someone, then you outline a problem of a particular distance, then you provide a solution for that, then the means of that solution, and finally you give an encouragement. For a period of, I think, almost 30-35 minutes, Mr. Amitabh Kant did exactly that. He praised Goa for its high GDP per capita. He praised Goa for its hospitality. And after having praised, when you make the soil ripe for the particular purpose, he outlined what were the problems. And the 2 chief problems which he outlined was the high level unemployment and a kind of a low level of women participation in the workforce. And over the next time, he started providing the various kinds of solutions, some of which our President has outlined here. And those solutions were in terms of making technological hub, etc., and all those kind of things. And he said that what are the kind of, means that Goa has got, and one of the means which he talked about was a very youthful and dynamic Chief Minister. And I am thinking that's the first thing, as he said, the CEO of the state of Goa. So, and then finally he encouraged us to perform more. Thank you so much, Mr. Amitabh Kant, for your speech. But that's not all, I would also like to thank you for what you have been doing as a G20 Sherpa for India. You have been putting up across not just India's, but for the entire developing economy's perspective there. And a lot of credit of what India, in the prestige that India enjoys at such fora today is only on account of you. Thank you for so much, for being here and for your speech. To our President, I must say this, it's very good of you to start this kind of Leaders 2047 series of talks. In fact, this time we had to stop, the registration. That's the kind of popularity of such of the program. And thank you so much for fulfilling your promise. For quite a long time, you have been telling us at the managing committee meetings that you would somehow or the other get Mr. Amitabh Kant here. And today that day has come up and the opportunity has come up here. We are very thankful to our distinguished guests for being here. Any program depends upon the guests and the response that they have. Chambers has always received a very positive response from all of you. Thank you so much for coming here and attending here. I would like to take a moment of your time for our heartfelt gratitude to the press and the media for their invaluable contribution. Your presence here today and attention which you give, and specifically the kind of publicity which you give for the viewpoints which are expressed here, have what has made Chambers very popular, and I would say Vox Populi, the voice of the people here of the state of Goa. Thank you for being here in such a large numbers. Friends, we are grateful for Hotel Siddharth Goa. It's a beautiful venue and the arrangements are as always very excellent. Thank you so much to the management of Hotel Siddharth Goa Heritage. For a lot of such kind of programs, especially for leaders speak, Lalit Saraswat has been the man to go to. Most of the times he takes a backstage and like the Alfred Hitchcock films, just makes a guest appearance as you have seen him today there. But his meticulous planning of the event and the fine execution leaves an indelible mark on the event. Thank you so much for the pain that you have taken. To Director Sanjay Amonkar and his team led by him, I must say we are grateful to you for all the actions which you have done behind the scheme. But our secretary is not just known for the kind of efforts that they have been putting, or the organizing of these events. Recently, sir, we have received the award for our secretariat, for recognized for outstanding efforts in energy conservation and received the first place award from the Department of Electricity. Well done, Sanjay and your team. Friends, we have talked about Goa, we have talked about India. So let's take today an opportunity to reaffirm our commitment to India's future. Let Goa lead the way in ensuring that growth, prosperity and sustainability go hand in hand together. Together we will create an India in 2047 that's not only a global leader, but also a model of inclusivity, equity and environmental leadership. Once again, I would like to thank our Chief Minister Pramod Sawant and Mr. Amitabh Kant for your invaluable contributions and for all those who are present here for your support to us today. Thank you so much.
Since CM is here, I'll just take a minute. The Prime Minister had asked us to do the G20 in every state and every union territory of India. The maximum events were held in Goa and the best performing state was Goa. So, the best G20s were held in Goa, and I want to take this opportunity of personally thanking the Chief Minister for his excellent hospitality during G20. Thank you so much.
Take a moment for some photographs, requesting Honorable Note sir and the GCCI team to kindly take a photograph with the dignitaries, please.